Talk about your most toxic teacher experience.
I have been waiting to tell this story for years. So back in like 6th grade, I had a math teacher that did not like me for whatever reason. It got to the point where she did not like me so much, she just wanted to get me in trouble. So out of nowhere in the middle of the school year, she starts doing her quizzes differently, where she writes them on the whiteboard and you have to copy them down and turn it in. Lots of room for human error. So out of nowhere, my A in math goes from I cannot get more than a 0 on a math quiz ever, but all my homework is perfect. So my mom emails the teachers like, hey, what's going on with these quizzes? Is this right? Was this just entered wrong? So my teacher emails her back with a fake answer key where it shows that all of my math problems are wrong in just a little way. Like I multiplied instead of divided, I subtracted instead of added, stuff like that. So of course I get in trouble for just not paying attention. Well, I know I'm doing them right, so I get my friend Mark to give me his quiz and I take it home to show my mom. Part 2 is up.
Okay, talk about your most toxic teacher experience.
Part 2 of the evil math teacher. So of course I take Mark's quiz home, show my mom. They're exactly the same except he got an A and I got a 0. So the principal, my mom, my math teacher, and I all had a meeting where basically my math teacher had to confess that she was dooming me on purpose. Like it was all in black and white. There were other kids' quizzes that were exactly like mine. So she had to go back to her old quiz style, which was basically like taking it out of a workbook to where she couldn't change it. And then my math had to be graded by another teacher because they didn't trust her to grade my math anymore. So of course she got in trouble, had to have all of my math homework graded by someone else because I couldn't trust her. And from what I heard, she was not invited to come back the next year.
Okay, talk about your most toxic teacher experience. This one's mine.
Okay, I've kind of been waiting for this one. This one was meant for me. So my senior year of high school, I had this really fine government teacher that I literally switched classes to be in his class. He was 24, he played basketball. I was like, So I had his class last of the day, and when I say he literally made me stay after every single day, and he would always be something not school related. Okay, so instance number 1, I worked at Domino's at the time, and he was like, hey, can you get me a free pizza? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, okay, fine, I'll pay for it, but I want you to deliver it to my house. And I was like, I can't, but Situation number 2. So it was getting around prom time and he's like, Tiffany, do you have a date? And I was like, yeah, actually I do. And he was like, okay, who is it? And I told him and he was like, oh no, you can't go with him. And I was like, why? And he was like, you're way too good for him. And I was like, are you gonna go with me? He was like, yeah, I would, but you didn't ask me. I was like, the last day of school, he asked me to take a picture with him, and then he followed me on Instagram, DM me. I wasn't expecting that video to blow up, so I hope he doesn't see this. So before we get back to the DM story, I'm gonna tell y'all a couple more things that happened that kind of led up to that point. I feel like something that's really important to add in this story is that this man got engaged 2 months into the school year. When he announces his engagement, later that day, he literally goes, Tiffany, I know you're gonna be upset about this, but like, I was like, what? But jokingly, I was like, yeah, like, how could you do that to me? Like, flirting with a teacher is a whole nother kind of vibe. So just to add to the story a little bit, one time we were talking about birthdays, and he was like, yeah, mine's August 1st. And I was like, oh my gosh, our birthdays are 2 days apart. And he was like, oh, are you turning 19? And I was like, no, I'm turning 18. And he was like, goes dead silent for like 5 minutes, and then goes, wait, you're only 17, Tiffany? I was like, yes. I also literally never turned in any assignments for that class, and so I went up to him and I was like, look, I need to B. And he was like, let's see what you have. Pulls up my grade, D. He was like, I'll see what I can do. Okay, so I'm literally gonna have to post a part. Asking you shall receive. Toxic teacher, part 3. So most of you guys were really curious of what happened once he DM'd me. So the initial DM that he sent me was asking, hey, can you send me the photos that we took at the end of school because they were on my phone? I was like, oh, okay. I sent him the pictures, and then later he was like, don't forget me now that you've graduated. And jokingly, I was like, I can't promise anything. And he was like, ouch, that really hurt. So I then responded, you're the one getting married. And he was like, yeah, you're right. And I was like, if this ain't toxic, I don't know what is. So then, I went on about my life. He went on about his life, got married. He was definitely still following me on Instagram up until recently, but I went to go look at his DMs just to make sure I had it all set and straight. His whole account was gone. So, sweetie, if you and your wife are watching this right now, I'm sorry.
Okay, talk about your most toxic teacher experience.
So my second grade teacher, it was her final year of teaching ever. She was retiring. And she was very proud of the fact that she had developed this reading program she'd used for 30 years in her classroom. And the first day of class, she told us nobody had ever reached the final stage of the reading program, which I now understand was a sadistic point of pride for her. But at the time as a child, I didn't interpret it that way. And I got really excited because I was really good at reading. I had always been a really shy kid. If adults looked at me, sometimes I just burst into tears. But at the age of 2, randomly, my parents had started teaching me how to read. So by 3 and 4, I was reading fluently. They'd sometimes call their friends and make me read articles from that day's newspaper to them out loud over the phone. This is a fun party trick. So the very first day of the reading program in second grade, I was all excited and I beat the entire program in one day. But my teacher was not proud of me. She was frustrated that she had to develop one-on-one reading lessons to do with me for the rest of the year. So for months, we did these one-on-one reading lessons. And finally, one day, I mispronounced a word, lapel. She stood me up in front of the whole class and made fun of me till I cried.
Talk about your most toxic teacher experience.
I bet you knew you'd see me here. The way that I could stitch this video 50 times. Anyways, well spoken, right? Probably my most frequent comment. She's so well spoken for an 18-year-old. How she speaks is satisfying. Vocabulary, dialect, diction, vernacular. It's my niche. It's why I have a following. That and the fact that I'm hot. Anywho, I can't public speak for shit. I just can't do it. Not to be confused with I don't want to. I literally cannot. Blackout. I pass out. I get sick. I violently shake. Going into high school, I was like, I gotta tell my teachers. So I said, yo guys, I can't do it. But I will go above and beyond to avoid doing it. I will write essays for you. I will do extra credit work. You just can't call on me in class. They were like, if she's willing to work 10 times harder than any other student to avoid it, obviously we can let it slide. Except for one teacher. He was like, don't worry, I'm gonna fix you. That may beg the question for you as it did for me, what does that entail? He made my 13-year-old ass sit in his 50-year-old ass's office every single day during my lunch period and read to him. At the end of every single day, he'd go, you're so well spoken. I don't get why you don't want to do it, Caroline. Imagine my frustration. It's like, fuck you, Jonathan.
Talk about your most toxic teacher experience.
Okay, trigger warning, abuse. I had this crazy teacher for my 6th grade science class, and she was just known to be insane. She duct taped a kid's mouth shut because she didn't want to hear their voice or something, and she threatened to shave this girl's head because she was playing with her hair in class. But she used to tell long personal stories that would take 20 minutes of class time, and one day she starts telling this story, and 5 minutes into it, I just close my textbook on my desk, and she notices and she snaps at me. She's like, how disrespectful, I guess I'm not worthy of your respect, am I even a teacher to you, blah, 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 blah. And she makes me stay after class. After class, it's just me and her, and she's like, I've noticed you've been having a lot of behavior problems recently. Are your parents And I was like, what? And she was like, are your parents hitting you? And I was like, no, oh my God, no. And she was like, oh. She was blown away that they weren't hitting me.
Okay, talk about your most toxic teacher experience.
Oh, this started early. I was in 5th grade, right? And at that time, we had a pizza party. Now, my teacher was a completely impatient man. So he was like, everyone throw away your cups right now. No one should be drinking any more juice. I don't want you all hyper for what I'm teaching. Now, my friend actually brought some fabric softener for me because it's like, you should put this in your clothes. They'll make them smell amazing. He poured some fabric softener in a cup for me so I can take it home and pour it in. Don't know why. We were 5th graders. Our brains didn't work fully. But I was like, okay, yeah, cool, thanks. So I kept it on the desk. My teacher comes up and he's like, why aren't you listening to me, Howlett? I was like, it's not juice. And he's like, you think you're smarter than me? I was like, this might be something deeper for you. He took the cup and drank it. And I just looked at him and he looked at me. He knew he already fucked up. And I just said, how do you feel? He just looked at me and he was like, stop talking. This man drank fabric softener.
Talk about your most toxic teacher experience.
I've always wanted to tell this story, and my day has come. I was in the 4th grade, and I had this teacher who completely hated me, and I never figured out why, because I was such a teacher's pet because my mom's a teacher. I knew how to act. I was a good kid, whatever. And so she would get on me for things that she wouldn't get on anybody else about. If I missed a homework assignment, she'd humiliate me in front of the whole class. Or if I was eating in class, she'd come and take my food and throw it away. And she wouldn't do this to anybody else. And we had classroom chores and tasks that we had to do. And one of mine was cleaning the pencil sharpener. And I was partnered with this other boy. And so I cleaned the pencil sharpener one day. It was fine. Everything was totally cool. And then she called me into her office a week later and was like, you broke the pencil sharpener. And I was like, no, I didn't. I didn't break anything. She called my parents and told them that I damaged school property. But the kid who actually did it was the kid who went around peeing on all the different toilet paper rolls. And his mom was a janitor that had to clean it up.
Okay, talk about your most toxic teacher experience.
I have been waiting to talk about this for such a long time. In the first grade, I had the teacher named Miss Sherry. She was old and she was grouchy. I did not like her and she hated me. She always treated me like crap. I'm Middle Eastern and she would also treat the other Middle Eastern kids like trash as well. One time around Christmas time, she told us to bring frosting for each of us to build our own gingerbread houses out of graham crackers. I guess I was absent that day, or I didn't get the memo that we were supposed to bring frosting for each of us, so I didn't bring frosting on the day that we were gonna build the gingerbread houses. There was a few other kids who had forgotten, so she made us wait in line to use the phone, and I asked my mom if she could bring me some, but she couldn't because she was busy doing something, which I didn't really care about making some stupid dumb gingerbread houses. They were stupid and ugly anyway. I told her that my mom couldn't bring any, so she told me to go share with the girl that I sat next to because her mom gave her 2 cans of frosting. At the end of the class period, when I